Hello guys, welcome back. Today we are going to continue to talk about system of equations, but we're going to talk about inequalities today. So we saw last week that we are trying to find the solution, which would be if we graph two lines where they intersect or where they meet. Still kind of the same idea today, but we're graphing inequalities instead of equations. So we're just going to do a quick review of how to graph an inequality, and then we're going to see what it looks like to graph two inequalities at the same time and how we figure out what is our solution. All right, so we should be reminded of our inequality symbols up here. So we have less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, greater than and less than. And so we should recall before that when we graph an inequality, we're going to have to do some shading. And so we either have to decide if we shade above or below. So in the cases where you have greater than, here you're going to shade above. So for each one of the ones that are greater than, we shade above. And the ones that are less than, we are going to shade below the line. Okay, so this should be reviewed. And then the type of line. So you should remember that if it has the equal to, you're going to draw a solid line. And if it doesn't have the equal to, then you draw a dashed line. All right? And so that's what we're going to be doing with this equation over here. All right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that it's in the right form. This appears to be in slope-intercept form. So we need to make sure that we have our slope and our y-intercept. All right? So if we take a look at this, remember this is y equals mx plus b. So we have our m and our b. So to graph this, we're going to start by putting a point at -5 on the y-axis because that's our b value. And then our slope is 3/5. So we're going to rise 5 and run 3. So remember, here we say that our b was 5 and then our m is 3/5. So if we're graphing, that means we want to go up 3 and over 5. But there's not enough room for me to go up 3 and over 5, so we always remember that we can also go in the opposite direction. So instead of going up 3 and over 5, then I could also go down 3 and back 5. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go down 3 and then back 5. And that will land me right there. And so that is my second point. So those are going to be the 2 points that I use to graph this line. And then we want to connect them. Right, so then you'll take a ruler or a straight edge or whatever you have. So here I have my ruler and I'm going to move it. All right, there we go. All right, so I'm going to move it so that it lines up. All right, that looks like I got it there. And then we need to look at the symbol. And the symbol is going to tell me what type of line I have and then how to shade. So if we look here, it looks like for this one, we have the symbol for less than or equal to. So we have the symbol for less than or equal to. And this is going to be a solid line, and we're going to shade below. So I'm going to graph this with a solid line. And then we need to make sure always that we put arrows. And then we need to shade below, right? So remember that if we want to shade below, we're going to go to the line. And the area that is below means that we will go straight down. All right, so that's, let me fix that. We don't want to go above it, so that's actually, let's get rid of that. All right, so that means that we're going to shade everything that is below the line without actually going past the line. All right, so then this will be our solution set. All right, so it's going to be everything that is below the line. And so the difference today is that, or we saw before, when we graph this, everything that is in here is considered a solution. So all of these are our solution. Every point in the shaded area is a solution, and because it is equal to, the points on the line are also solutions, right? So this is just a reminder of what we talked about in the past when we talked about graphing inequalities. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at a system, and we're going to see what happens when we graph the two inequalities at the same time. All right, so we have two examples here. We're going to start with this first example. All right, so you can see here we have two different inequalities. So I'm going to start by graphing the first one. So look here, this is my M and this is my B. So I'm going to begin at 2. And then my slope is 1 over 2, so I'm going to go up 1 over 2. And then I'm going to repeat that until I run out of space. And then remember, we can go in both directions. I'm going to go down 1, back 2. And that's going to give me the line. Then we need to decide when we connect these, are we going to connect them with a solid or a dashed line? And are we going to shade above or below? Right? So looking at my symbol for less than or equal to, we are going to have a solid line and we are going to shade below. So I'm going to connect these with a solid line. Make sure you put arrows, and then we want to shade below because it is less than. So that means that I'm going to shade everything that is underneath the line. So everything underneath the line is going to be considered a solution for the first equation. But remember, we have two equations, so I need to shade a second time. So now we're going to graph this second inequality. So this time our M is -2 and our B is -3. So I'm going to start down here at -3. If the slope is -2, remember we put that over 1, it's negative, so I'm going to go down 2 over 1. So I'm going to go down 2 over 1. And then I'm going to go the opposite direction, so I'm going to up 2, back 1, up 2, back 1. And if this was like the inequality we saw before, we can see that the two lines are going to meet. But what we're looking for today is going to be a little bit different. So turn this on. All right, so I'm going to try to line this up with my points. All right, so when we look at our symbol, it is less than. So this means that this time we're going to have a dashed line, and we are still going to shade below because it's less than. So I'm going to connect this, but using a dashed line. So I'm not going to connect them. All right, so you can see here I have my dashed line, and we're going to shade below. So this line looks a little bit vertical, but if we look at the points, we want to go underneath the points, not above the points. So it's going to be everything that is below the points that we made. I'm going to just shade these in a different color. So this would be below that line. And you should see something that is happening as I'm shading. Even though I only use 2 colors, there are 3 colors that appear. And what's happening here is that the 2 shaded areas are overlapping, and that part that is overlapping is going to be the answer, and that is going to be our solution set. So today, when we are graphing, instead of looking for just the point where they meet, we're not looking for the point where they meet, we are looking for the area where the shaded parts overlap. So everything in here would be a solution, all right? Now we have to be careful because this is a solid line and this is a dashed line. So the points that are on the solid line are solutions, but the points on the dotted line are not solutions. So your solutions would be anything that's in this green area, or anything that's on this line right here will be considered the solution. Okay. Are we going to try one more on the other side? So again, we're going to start by graphing this first line. So to graph this first line, we need to identify our M and our B. So M and B. So our B is going to be at -2, so that's going to be here. And then be careful here, your M, it's just -x. And so remember, -x is the same thing as -1x. So our slope is going to be -1/1. So we're going to go down 1/1. I'm going to continue to do that. And then again, go in both directions. And so that's going to give me the line. And then we need to figure out, again, two things. So if we look at our symbol, it says y is greater than. So that means that we are going to have a dashed line. And we are going to shade above, right? So I'm going to use my ruler. I'll line this up best I can, all right? And we need a dashed line, so we're going to connect these with the dashed line. All right, so that's our line. It is dashed, and we need to shade above. So that's going to be easy to see everything up top. So then I'll take my highlighter. And then I want to shade everything that is above this line. That's all going to be my solution set. Everything above this line, all right? So that's the first one, and then now we're going to graph the second one. And again, we're trying to figure out not where they meet, but we want to know the section where the two graphs are going to overlap. All right, so in the second equation, we see here we have our M, we have our B, so we're going to start up here at +2. And then the slope is -5, so remember we put that over 1. So we're going to go down 5, and then right 1. And we are out of space. So we only have those 2 points, but 2 points is always enough to graph a line. So that's why also it's important to have a ruler if you don't have as many dots, to make sure that you get that pretty accurate, all right? So it looks like that's gonna connect those. This time our symbol is less than, so as we saw on the other side, that's going to be a dashed line, and we are going to shade below for a dashed line. So again, I'm going to connect these with the dashed line.
Attention teachers and students, we are ready to transition to our 2A class. At this time, we need students in the B Wing, Gym, and A120. Please report to your second period class. B Wing, Gym, and A120.
All right, and it is less than, so this time we are going to shade below. So that means that I want everything that is below this line. So that means if I pick these dots, I want to go down. All right, so just like that. So everything that is below this line, below this red line, we follow it like that. All right, got a little bit of overlapping there, but you guys get the idea. And so we have the blue line, the blue section from this inequality, the yellow, and then our solution, what we're looking for, our answer, is going to be the area where they are overlapping. So this green area here is going to be our solution. So any point that is in here is going to be a solution for the inequalities, okay? So the only difference is you have to shade on today, and you're not looking for one point, before I was looking to see where they meet, but now I'm looking to see where do they overlap, all right? So it's going to be anything in this overlapping section is going to be a solution, okay? There's a video.
Now ready to dismiss the D300 and E300. You're now released to transition to your second period class at this time, D300 and E300.
All right, sorry, those are the announcements. They're dismissing the classes here on campus. There is a video that I posted on the Schoology page. If you need help with just graphing an inequality, just graphing a single inequality, there's a YouTube video that you can watch to kind of refresh on that. But that's pretty much it for today. I'll also be announcing in the Schoology page that we are going to have a test this week on Thursday. So on Thursday, we're going to have a test over all of the things on systems, okay? Also, one last thing is, as always, you can test these things out in Desmos. So using Desmos, the same way that we got it here, Desmos will graph these things for you. So I'm gonna graph the second one that we just did in Desmos, and you can see that. All right, so we're gonna go to Desmos. All right, so we're gonna graph. Go to our graphing calculator, and so we want Y, or we can use the keypad. And you can see as you do that, that it will automatically shade for you, all right? So that's our first inequality. Y is greater than negative x minus 2. And then we can add a second one. All right, and again, you can see here, I'm gonna just zoom out a little bit, that it's gonna graph both, and then again, the section where they overlap is gonna be this darker section here, so you can use Desmos.
D200 and E200, you're now released to transition to your second period class at this time. D200 and E200.
All right. So you can use Desmos to track to kind of see where they're going to overlap. Okay. All right, that's it for today. You guys have a great day. See you guys back tomorrow. Oh.